In this video, I will answer a question that probably crossed the minds of some of you after the laptop video I uploaded earlier. Windows or Mac? This question has likely occurred to those who are about to buy a computer for the first time, and the opinions of users on both sides may have left them feeling confused. That's why I think this video will be very helpful for those who want to buy a new laptop. Both platforms fall a bit short in some areas compared to their competitors. Therefore, you need to know the commonalities and differences between the two sides, even if only a little. If you're ready, let's get started. Without knowing what makes both Windows and Mac devices good for a specific task, you'll probably end up not being very satisfied with the computer you buy. For example, why shouldn't you buy a Mac for 3D modeling and rendering? Or if battery life and portability are important to you, why shouldn't you prefer Windows? Which one is the best option for coding and application development? Which one provides the highest performance in the low budget range? Which platform is better for photo editing and video editing? Your experience in these matters will be influenced by factors such as performance, design, and ecosystem. So if you're ready, let's start with performance. 1. Performance. In this section, we'll mostly evaluate performance based on 3D modeling, gaming, and 4K video editing, because these usage areas are the most demanding tasks for a computer. Additionally, we'll touch on web design, coding, and application development because certain details in these areas are more important than the performance of laptops. Both platforms have sufficient features for tasks like application development and coding, and the best choice for you in these areas depends on the language of the application you're developing and the platform used by your colleagues if applicable. Because even though both platforms are good enough, contributing to a Windows-based project with a Mac or contributing to a Mac-based project with a Windows device can bring some challenges along with it. Regardless of your preferences, consider using the platform that your colleagues are working with, because in group projects, your results will get affected by the consistency of your contributions to the task. On the other hand, in terms of web design, Mac OS is a better option because web design is based on Unix, which Mac OS is built upon, and MacBook provides the best compatibility in this area. Now let's get to the most challenging topic, 3D modeling. But before we move on to 3D modeling, I want to talk about Partition Master by EaseUS. Partition Master is a partition management software that allows you to perform various tasks related to hard drive partitions. Some of its key features include 1. Partition resizing. You can resize partitions by extending or shrinking them without data loss. 2. Partition creation and deletion. You can create new partitions on your hard drives or delete existing ones. 3. Partition conversion. It allows for converting between different partition formats, such as converting between FAT32 and NTFS. 4. Partition merge and split. You can merge adjacent partitions into a single partition, or split a large partition into smaller ones. 5. Partition cloning. It offers you the ability to clone partitions or entire hard drives, useful for backup or migration purposes. This allows you to copy the disk on which the operating system is installed to another disk. This way, you don't need to reinstall your programs. 6. Partition recovery. Partition Master includes features for recovering lost or deleted partitions and data. You can use the link in the description to check out the Partition Master's all features. And the first 100 people who use the license key that we have provided will have access to the professional version of Partition Master. So hurry up before it's too late. Now let's move on to 3D modeling. In 3D modeling, the three-dimensional representation of an object is first designed within various parameter ranges in 2D and then created by rendering, according to variables such as material, texture, and light. To obtain the visual output of a 3D model, we need render engines. In the past, render engines used to rely solely on the computer's processor, but nowadays, they can utilize external graphics cards to render a faster rate. So, if we're going to render 3D images, the performance of the graphics card is crucial for us. This is because graphics cards contain a larger number of cores that work in parallel and have faster RAM memory modules than the ones that processors use. This allows a graphics card to process the project data faster than CPUs. If you compare the render times of GPUs in Macs with those on the Windows side, you'll understand why I don't recommend Macs for 3D rendering. The primary reason MacBooks lag behind in this area compared to Windows is that currently they do not support dedicated external graphics cards, both in terms of platform and design. Instead of dedicated graphics cards, MacBooks rely on integrated graphics cards in their CPU, which offers slightly inferior performance compared to dedicated external graphics cards in Windows laptops due to design limitations. Another reason for Macs lagging behind is the difference in architecture between Apple's M-series processors and those in Windows laptops. Rendering engines are optimized for x86 architecture, which supports external graphics cards and has no power limitations. You might be curious about the x86 architecture, and I would love to explain this in future, but for now just know this. Apple's M-series processors operate on ARM architecture, and rendering engines haven't been adequately optimized for this architecture yet, so they can't deliver the necessary performance, even if their integrated graphics cards are capable enough. The same reasons apply to gaming as well. Even though M-series processors can technically support mid-range games, the lack of software optimization prevents them from delivering the required performance. In these two aspects, the difference between Windows and Mac goes beyond the operating system difference. Windows utilizes the x86 architecture, which performs higher-level tasks that require processing a large amount of data when there's no power limit. This architecture handles complex tasks by distributing them between the processor and graphics card. It can use external graphics cards or multiple RAM slots for performance uplift. On the other hand, Macintosh transitioned to the ARM architecture, focusing on low power consumption starting from 2020. ARM architecture emphasizes software that processes tasks rather than relying on the processor and graphics card for a specific task. By breaking down tasks into smaller parts, it consumes less energy, providing more efficient performance in portable form factors like the smartphone that you're probably using right now. However, ARM doesn't support options like external graphics cards or additional RAM slots. ARM processors are designed with predefined specific memory and storage modules according to the software that it's going to work with, and there's no room for upgrades. Hence, in devices like new MacBooks with ARM processors, you can't upgrade RAM or similar components. The reason rendering engines perform better on Windows is also related to how software is optimized for x86 architecture, which Windows is mostly based on. These programs can technically run on the ARM architecture used by the Mac OS operating system, but due to optimization issues, they don't provide the necessary processing power compared to Windows. It's worth noting that this situation is valid for now. In the near future, if modeling programs gets optimized for the ARM architecture, the situation could change in favor of MacBooks. 4K video editing is an area where both platforms are good options. What you need for this task is a fast CPU, a fast GPU, high RAM capacity, and well-optimized software. Technically, it's similar to 3D modeling, but you might have noticed that you don't necessarily need the power of x86 architecture for video clips, audio, and music. ARM and Mac perform just as well as Windows in this regard. In fact, in some areas, they might even perform slightly better. Mac's efficiency-focused architecture can provide you with the necessary power since you don't need as much processing power. Additionally, Macs come with advantages like long battery life and a lighter form factor. In this area, both platforms will provide you with a good experience. However, remember this: if you're on a tight budget, or if you don't use the softwares like Final Cut Pro, which only works on Apple devices, then a Windows device might be a better choice for you. Windows devices support the majority of video editing programs, and also offer features like extra RAM slots to enhance the speed of your computer. However, one of the most obvious advantages of MacBook in this regard, as mentioned earlier, is that relatively lightweight tasks can be performed as quickly by M-series processors as by those on the Windows side. This makes MacBooks more liberating. If you travel frequently or if your work requires mobility, MacBooks allow you to achieve high performance without being tethered to a power outlet. Additionally, the same situation applies to most photo editing and digital drawing programs. Programs like Photoshop, Lightroom, and After Effects can be used on both platforms. But on Macs, you can experience advantages like lightweight operation without experiencing performance losses. On the other hand, if you're interested in music production programs like FL Studio or Logic Pro, you need a powerful processor and a good battery life. This makes MacBook a good choice in this area. Additionally, there's another aspect where MacBooks excel, but I'd like to delve into it more extensively under the design section. 2. Design. If you've paid attention to MacBooks around in stores or online, you've probably noticed that they generally have a more stylish and premium design. Apple prioritizes design as much as performance in its products, and you can see this across all price ranges. While this is technically part of Apple's marketing and brand strategy, it also brings along some significant advantages. Apple products always come with well-calibrated screens and speakers, which make your work easier, especially in areas like photo and video editing, where Apple has an edge. In summary, having high screen color gamut values makes MacBooks a better option for all visually based applications, while having good speaker quality makes them preferable for all sound-based applications. Moreover, their portability provides a significant advantage, while not requiring additional hardware to be carried along adds considerable convenience. However, one disadvantage of Apple in this regard is that they generally come with a higher price tag compared to their competitors in the market. While this alone may not be a problem, the inability to upgrade components like RAM and SSD afterwards can prevent them from being used to their full potential in various workloads. If you're not well informed about this, you could be negatively affected. For example, if you purchase a MacBook Pro with 8 GB of RAM for mid to high-level editing, you will likely encounter issues. During editing or rendering, the performance of your device may not be sufficient. To improve performance, you would need to upgrade the RAM of your device, but this is impossible because, as mentioned earlier, MacBook RAM cannot be upgraded. To solve this, you would need to buy a MacBook with 16 GB or more of RAM, but the price increase of the higher storage and memory options is also higher than the competition. Keep this in mind. On the other hand, most Windows laptops may not attract as much attention in terms of design as MacBooks, but this is not because they are inherently inferior. In the Windows ecosystem, since multiple manufacturers compete directly with each other, their primary goal is usually to achieve the highest performance values at the lowest price tag. Naturally, this approach, where function and performance are preferred over design and form, is the main reason why most Windows laptop models lack the design consistency of MacBooks in terms of design and components. The most advantageous aspect of Windows laptops in this regard is that they can achieve similar performance values at a lower price. However, while reaching these values, they may lag behind in other areas that affect the user experience, such as screen and speaker quality. Apart from that, another advantage of Windows laptops is their flexibility in design. As mentioned earlier, if you buy a MacBook, you need to determine the memory and storage options before purchase, because the design of MacBooks does not support hardware upgrades. In Windows laptops, however, you have the advantage of adding additional RAM and SSD to a laptop with low RAM and SSD capacity later on, like you would with a desktop system. And this could be better for you depending on your budget or expected product lifespan, because Windows laptops can be repaired much more easily than MacBooks. But if you're going to build a desktop system, Windows is a much better option than Mac, because the x86 architecture that Windows operates on is much more advantageous on desktops. ARM architecture that MacBooks and iMacs are using doesn't really leverage the desktop form factor. When it comes to screen and sound quality, you need to know the exact specifications. Retina displays on MacBooks typically have color gamut values of at least 80% in color spaces such as Adobe RGB, DCI-P3, and NTSC. These values mean that the colors on the screen will be vivid and accurate. However, a Windows laptop with the same values will serve you as well as a MacBook. Problem with the Windows laptops is they might not always equipped with the same high-quality display panels that they are advertised with. This is a result of efforts of manufacturers to meet different user demands with lower price tags. A Windows laptop could come with two variations, one with the highest refresh rate for better gaming, and another with a very high resolution and well-calibrated display for better content creation. But I should note that there has been significant progress in this regard in Windows laptops released in the last 3 years. Nowadays, the display options are more uniform than ever. Similarly, MacBook speakers deliver approximately the full range of frequencies between 20 Hz and 20 kHz at roughly the same level. The most important factor in sound quality is that the frequency response is as flat as possible. As long as the speaker sound measurements are close to those of a MacBook, you can achieve the same performance from Windows laptops as well. And the good news is, as of 2024, manufacturers have also begun to show the same attention to detail in sound as they do for screens. As of now, other manufacturers have started using speakers with a flat frequency response in models, directly competing with MacBooks. This development will enable Windows laptops to perform on par with MacBooks in many areas, especially in music production. The fact that Windows laptops are closing the gap with MacBooks in both screen and sound quality represents a significant advancement, as you can imagine. 3. Ecosystem integration. By ecosystem, we mean your laptop actively communicating with another laptop, your tablet, your smartphone, your smartwatch, your sound system, and other devices you have, making your usage easier. Additionally, this includes applications developed for these devices working in integration with applications on other devices, allowing access to saved data from one device to another and being able to control other devices, among other features. The only platform that embodies these features is Apple's products. Since integration across the Apple products is a part of Apple's business strategy, this incentives Apple to offer very helpful features like handoff, which allows you to start an activity on one device and continue on another seamlessly. AirDrop, a feature that allows you to send a file to one of your own or a nearby Apple device without changing another setting. iCloud synchronization for photos, documents, notes, and other data across devices. Features like these are also available on Microsoft Office programs, in both mobile and on Windows versions. But other features such as Universal Clipboard, which allows you to copy content on one device and paste it on another, is currently available only on Apple devices. There are more features like Continuity Camera, Apple CarPlay, and Sidecar, but I won't go into detail about them in this video. But I could simply describe the Apple's ecosystem as a swarm of devices that work pretty well on their own, but offer more options and features when they are paired with more Apple devices, be it your own or another person's. In the past, Microsoft has also offered similar features as I've just mentioned, like optimization of your photos, documents, files, and settings via Microsoft OneDrive, which came out along with the AirDrop and iCloud. But Microsoft's mobile platform, Windows Phone, couldn't gather enough user base due to Microsoft's business strategy and lack of developer support that users were relying upon. However, in recent years, collaboration between Microsoft and Android device manufacturers like Samsung has been increasing. Both Microsoft and Google are working on an ecosystem integration that is similar to Windows 8.1 and Windows Phone 8.1. So there is a possibility that we may see ecosystem features similar to Apple's on the Windows side in the near future. Alright, let's finish the video slowly. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If not, feel free to dislike. Stay mysterious until the next video. Take care, and bye.